Everyone, as Jeff mentioned, my name is Trenten. I'm a senior in Wednesday Fam, which is the one that meets on Wednesdays. Today I have the privilege to share how God has been moving in my life this school year, but before I get into that, I'd like to share some context of how I started to sort of question my role in the different spaces that I find myself in. So over the summer, I was interning with a company that was in the power industry for things like data centers and power plants. Throughout the summer, I got to work at a lot of different job sites and interact with a bunch of contractors from different companies. Most of the people were well into their career and knew their roles pretty well. Everyone was trying to get their company's work done as quickly as possible without going above and beyond what they were contractually obligated to do. Despite being fast-paced, high-stress environments, people would generally stick to themselves and just do their work. That was until something went wrong. At that moment, it felt like the whole world just stopped. Everyone started pointing fingers, and the organizational political power game began. Everyone tried to engage in a way that maintained the integrity of their company's representation. At the end of my internship, I had a closeout meeting with my supervisor where I just asked him, I've seen this power game play out over multiple times where people aren't really trying to solve a problem. They just aim to represent their company well without being genuine. I saw three options for my professional future. I could either learn this power game and excel at it, or I could ignore it and let people step over me, or I could find a way to avoid the game entirely. I asked my supervisor what he chose and what the best approach is. It didn't surprise me that he chose to get really good at the game, but what surprised me was that he thought I'd be able to avoid it entirely. I appreciated his advice, but honestly had no clue what it meant for me or how it really played out. How was I supposed to avoid something that seemed like everyone else was drawn to? I thought of his advice and thought about all the people I'd interacted with. I realized they were doing their best to represent their company, but what if I started from a place trying to represent God? Now, I didn't really consider this question too closely until one Wednesday fam night when we broke into groups talking about the spaces we find ourselves in each week. We discussed hopes for how God would move in these spaces. That question of who do I represent was placed on my heart once again. Through our continued discussion in that group, I started to consciously choose to represent God in the spaces I had previously considered just for fun or even mundane. During my time at Tech, I've seen God move in so many spaces, but consciously thinking about representing the Lord reshaped my inner preparation and outer interaction with friends and classmates as I moved throughout my week. This led to consistently praying as I walked to club meetings for moments of spiritual conversation, being curious about the lives of my design team groupmates rather than just getting the work done, and emphasizing purpose over performance in my academic life. Through being more intentional with representing the Lord, I saw God move in different spaces, at times being much clearer and bolder than I'd even anticipated. One day last semester, I can recall I was walking to a juggling club meeting and I'd been praying about having spiritual conversation. People there knew I was Christian, went to church, played in the band, but conversations never really went more than surface level. I was at the meeting with Camden when one of the other club members walked up to us and asked, "Hey Trenton, you're a Christian, right?" I replied yes, envisioning it was a quick question with not much depth, as it had been in the past. To my surprise, this led to a lengthy conversation, including other club members, with the easiest questions being posed. Some of these questions include, why do bad things happen? And why does God give me free will if I could get hurt? Okay, so maybe not the easiest questions ever to navigate and respond to, but it was clear that when I made it my intention to represent God, that he provided an opportunity to show up. I don't exactly remember how I responded to those questions. I just have a few words that describe how the interaction felt. Those words include curious, honest, and truth-bound. What struck me from these words was how different they felt from the environments I experienced during my internship. There, representation often meant protecting image, minimizing risk, and carefully managing perception. But representing God seemed to move in the opposite direction. It didn't change the complexity of situations, but it changed the lens through which I approached them and the opportunities that God placed in front of me. While choosing to represent God, I've seen more opportunities the Lord places in front of me to represent him. Now I'd like to leave you with a question. Who do you represent in the spaces you find yourself each day? in the mundane spaces such as the bus, in class, or while you're just texting in a group chat with friends. At times, you might be trying to represent yourself, your family, Virginia Tech, or you're like me and have no clue or haven't given much thought to some of the more mundane spaces. You just kind of go to them. This year, I've been surprised by how quickly and boldly God moves when I shift my focus from representing myself or a version of myself to representing Him. My name is Trenten, and that is my snapshot.